Hello, everyone. It's Melissa with Awaken Your Inner Awesomeness. Today, I wanted to talk to you about doing things with your team or doing things as a team, and also looking at things from different perspectives. So, as we're preparing to start school this week, we sat through another day of the Leader in Me training, and I have to say that I've really enjoyed it because it really is going along with what I am learning and doing on my own spiritual journey, which is great because this is the first year in a long time that I really didn't get excited about going back to school. And I hate to say that because I don't ever want to feel like I've lost my passion. And I'm not sure that that's even what it was, but I just really wasn't feeling it this year. And after these 2 days of training, now I can't wait to go back into my classroom and to try these new techniques with my kids and to build relationships with them. And really, that's what it's all about. And one of the things that we talked about today was synergy. And synergy is when you have groups or people who work together toward a common goal. And we talked about trying to get along in groups. And it was really eye opening today because in our personal work situation, we have a coworker who isn't always so cooperative. And it started off just with little negative things or with interruptions, just different things. And it's built up to where we now have what I would consider a toxic environment, which is not fun for anyone, and it really doesn't get anything accomplished except people get hurt feelings and they're angry and they get frustrated, and nobody wants to work in an environment like that. And being the leader of the group here, it's difficult because you have to try to get people to get along, to see things from different perspectives. And some of the activities that we did today were interesting because it forced us to look at things from a different perspective, which I'm learning every day how to do. I did a whole podcast on that, but I'm still learning every day how to look at something from a different perspective, how to shift my thoughts. It's a process, and it's something that I have to work at every single day, every single hour, every single minute. I'm always catching myself trying to go back to those old mindsets and the old negativity. And it doesn't serve any purpose when I do that. So it's a constant struggle. And today really brought about that point. I think it drove it home because we had to do an activity and we had to pick a person who was challenging in our lives, who challenged us. And I think most of us saw this as someone who is difficult. And someone who challenges you doesn't necessarily have to be someone you don't get along with. Sometimes challenging you could be as simple as forcing you to see something from a different perspective. In our particular example, though, it was a person who makes things difficult for us to get anything done effectively and smoothly, and someone who just makes the environment tense. And I know you probably know someone right now you can think of and you're like, oh yeah, that person, oh, I hate having to work with that person. We all have people in our lives like that, and I honestly believe that those people are in our lives for a reason because we learn from everyone, the good, the bad, the ugly. We learn just as much from people we don't like and don't get along with as we do from people that we do like and look up to. They're teaching us something about ourselves as well. They're teaching us how we react, and they're also teaching us how we don't want to be perceived by others. We learn how we don't want to treat other people by people as well as how we do want to treat other people. So I think it's a very interesting dynamic, and I think that those challenge people are in our lives for a reason. They are helping us to grow. And we talked about this. Growing is uncomfortable. When we have to learn and grow, we shift out of our comfort zone, and that is not a place most of us like being, but it's absolutely necessary. So the challenge was, and I thought this was really interesting, we had to go find a person. We had to talk about this challenge person. What about this situation was difficult and made our lives more difficult? And of course, when you talked about the challenge person and why they made your life difficult, it had a billion things to say, talked a mile a minute, and the mood was kind of tense and negative. But then they flipped the situation and said, okay, now you're going to talk about this challenge person, but I want you to, instead of listing all of the negative qualities and things about this challenge person that really push your buttons, now I want you to talk about the good qualities this challenge person has. And if you can imagine flipping that table and saying, now you have to list all the things you like about this person. Well, that was difficult. That was really difficult at first. But then you really dive into it and you think, this person does have some good qualities and they do have some personality traits that really make our whole group better. You just have to find them. But it really threw me for a loop at first because I thought, what? Now I have to find their good qualities? What? Yeah, there's none. No, I'm just kidding. But everybody has good qualities. We do. I mean, there are things about people we don't like. But everyone has something good in them. It's all about how you see it. And so that was really interesting for me. And several of us, I think, picked, very challenging people. And when we came back together, we're like, wow, that was tough trying to figure out the good qualities. But once I started, I realized, oh yeah, that person has this and they have this and they're good at organizing and they're good at this and this. And so it made it a lot easier once you got started. But it also flipped that switch so that we are now no longer in that negative, call it being in the mud. You're down in the mud there because you're all upset and you're complaining and you're just venting. We can either pull people down with us, or we can stand at the edge and put our hand out and help them out of the mud so that they don't have to stay there either. And it's much better to not be in the mud because that is a place of victimhood. It's a place of negativity and you're lowering your energy vibration. It's not a fun place to be. So just doing that one exercise of how you can flip that situation, and really we think about our students, you can do that too. We have our challenge students. To think about all the things you like about that student and flipping that script, it's a really, really interesting way to look at it. And I think we need more of that in our lives. And that brings me to another interesting example today. I don't know if any of you have heard this story before, but there is a city in it's Paraguay, excuse me. There's a city in Paraguay where I guess most of the city is a landfill. And there are people who actually live in this landfill. And so they're surrounded by garbage. And there was one man who saw this pile of garbage, and he saw that he would be able to use this pile of garbage to make an instrument. And there was a video that we watched. It was amazing. I mean, it's really hard to explain without showing you the video, but he was able to take a situation where people saw just garbage and trash, and he was able to make something positive out of it. He turned the recycled things, like a recycled oil drum, things like that, and he turned them into woodwinds with strings, and then taught kids how to play these instruments. So these kids who really wouldn't have anything else because, they're living in a landfill basically, they now have this school where they could go and learn these instruments that were made out of garbage. And the music was beautiful. They actually showed in the video one of the students playing a violin that was made out of recycled goods. And it looked like a violin made out of trash. But the student played this violin and it was the most beautiful music ever. And it just shows you that where most people saw trash, one man saw treasure. And a way to turn this around so that these students would have something to look forward to. And it was so inspiring. One of the girls said, "Oh, I look forward to this every day because music is my life. I get butterflies in my stomach when I think about music. And that was just so touching. She wouldn't have that if it weren't for the idea of one person to look at something from a different perspective. And he even said, he travels back and forth to this town, or I guess it's more like a village, from where he lives to teach. And people said to him, "Why are you going to this place? It's garbage. It's just a dump." And he said, "No, this place isn't garbage. It's full of potential, and those people are not garbage. Those people are full of potential." So where one man sees trash, another sees treasure. And it was really touching and inspiring, but it just goes to show you that just by changing your perspective, you can totally change the way you see the world. You might see opportunities where you never saw them before just because you opened up your mind and you opened your heart and you chose to see things through God's eyes. That we are all potential. We all have potential. Everyone is valuable. And when we treat each other as such, it's amazing what you see. And it's amazing the opportunities that open up for you. I'll give you another example. When I came home from work tonight, I came home prepared. I had a whole list of things that I needed to get done. Told myself I need to be productive tonight. I need to go home. I need to get groceries. I need to make dinner. I need to, record my podcast. I need to do all of this. Well, when I got home, my son had left the garage door open when he left, and so our door was unlocked and the garage door is wide open, so I was a little irritated by that. More than a little irritated, I would say. And then I walk in. I had asked, the kids to put dishes in the dishwasher, and there they sat in the sink, not in the dishwasher like I'd asked. More frustration mounting. There was trash on the table that just didn't get picked up, but that should have been put away, and things put away. So more frustration. It's mounting, and I'm just not a happy camper right now. And my instinct, my gut was to go to that. I'm so pissed off right now. I want to scream. I want to ground them. I want to blah, blah, blah. You name it, when you go off on that space where you just get frustrated and angry, and that's where I went. And then I had to catch myself. And luckily I did. I didn't get too far down that rabbit hole before I realized that I was heading down that rabbit hole. And I had to catch myself and say, you know what? Okay, let's look at this from a different perspective. I do need to remind my son that he needs to close the garage door when he leaves, make sure it's shut. I do need to remind them about picking up, but they're teenagers. They're going to mess up. They don't seem to realize yet what role we all play, where if they don't do their part and then I come home, that just puts extra work on me. But that's on me because I need to remind them of that. But just by changing that little flip, that little switch, just flipping that switch in my brain, I said to myself, no, you're not going to go down that rabbit hole. You're not going to get upset. You're not going to ruin your evening. You're not. And I didn't let it bother me. So think about this. When you want to go back to those old negative thought patterns, think about changing that programming. Change what you think to yourself. Change what you say. Remember, when you want to think bad thoughts about somebody, there are good qualities there. What good qualities do they have? When you want to see the trash in something, stop instead and look for the treasure, because it's there. It is there if you look for it and if you want to find it. So I hope that you will start looking at things from a different perspective today. Try not to let yourself get down into that habit of negativity and upset over things that you don't have any control over anyway. Don't waste your energy being in a place of anger, frustration, worry, or stress because it absolutely does no good for you. It's not going to help you, it's not going to change your situation. So don't let yourself go there. Instead, try to see the positive, try to see the lesson, try to be the good that you want to see in the world. I hope that you have a wonderful day, and I am sending you so much love, peace, and light. And I will talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.